London town. Welcome to Step Up with Simply Greg. Once again, as you already know, Step Up with Simply Greg is a personal development talk show, and it's all about elevating the mind and empowering you to make a change one step at a time. So basically what that means is that every week we have an amazing guest who's a specialist at what they do, giving you the information you need to know in order to challenge you to challenge your better self. And if not you, then who? If not now, then when? Very good question. Today we've got an amazing guest, and we're speaking to my guest about the topic of how social media is affecting our mental and emotional health when it comes to social media and also reality TV and the effect of that as well, considering obviously the sad passing of Caroline Flack. I've got an amazing guest today to help me with that, and her name is Glenda Roberts. How you doing, Glenda? You okay?
I'm really well, thank you.
Yeah, look at that beaming smile. Oh, he's just beaming with a red lippy and a cardigan and everything. So colourful today, so radiant.
Thank you.
If only they can see this anyway. But yes, Glenda, thank you ever so much for attending today and being able to talk about this particular topic of discussion, which is very sensitive. And it's something that needs to be addressed, considering, as I shared earlier on, the rate of suicide has actually gone up. You know, according to reports where I looked at from the Samaritans and so forth. And also it's gone up by 23.7% for under 25s.
Tremendous.
And I know this is something that is very dear and close to your heart as well, from obviously the beginnings of, you know, Just Talk itself, which is an organization that you've been able to create to bring forth affordable counselling for those who need it, and also free opportunities to actually get counselling as well as also the production of the film, the short film which you released, which is Dying to Be Famous.
Yes.
I want to know so much more about it. Glenda, what is your journey and what led you to obviously starting all of this up as well?
Okay, so thank you very much for that introduction, Greg, very kind. I am an accredited psychotherapist. I have a membership body, which is the British Association for Counsellors and Psychotherapists.
Amazing.
And I have worked with thousands and thousands of people, helping them with their mental health issues. So it hasn't always been about that, but I'll tell you briefly how I got involved with the topic of discussion that we're going to be discussing today. So in 2016, I experienced trauma in my own family, and that was by my daughter, who had unfortunately lost 4 friends in the community of Sudbury, Suffolk, to suicide. They took their lives.
Wow.
And Greg, I must just say, we use the terminology took one's life instead of committed suicide. So that's the terminology that we use. So with that, what we decided to do, I physically went round the town of Sudbury and started to ask all the shop owners and business owners if they've ever experienced suicide or knew someone that had taken their lives. And there were 16 business owners. So I said to my team, I know, horrendous. I said to my team, look, we've got to do something about this. And I said, how about we set up a group in the community, a free group where people can come and talk to an experienced therapist in a confidential space free of charge. But before long, Greg, we were serving 10, 20, 30, 40, 50. The numbers increased. Just grew and grew and grew. And before long, we received a letter from the House of Commons commending us for the work that we were doing in the community of Sudbury. So, as you can imagine, the service that we then started to provide got very, 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 very busy. And I'd always run from a company, Exploring You Counselling, a service where we would facilitate clinical psychotherapists and counsellors doing their placements, so that they could see clients for free of charge or for £5. So that was something that we then set up. We set up a placement agency off the back of the groups that we were running. And so from there, we started to serve more and more people, and then I realised that this was turning into something bigger than that we could imagine.
That's it.
So, Greg, I said to my team, look, we've got to find another premises because, you know, the hundreds and hundreds of people that were coming to our groups and everything else, they needed more space, and we needed to serve the community with what they needed. So I approached the local council of Sudbury, Baybrook Council, and I said, look, you've got probably about 17 shops in the area that are free. Could we possibly take one of your shops? And they said, yep, tenancy at will. You can have it for as long as you can, but in case somebody needs it, we're going to have to ask you to leave unless you can find the money to pay for the rent. So we found this beautiful building, and we were the first therapists in this country, but by that time it was called the Just Talk campaign. We got charitable status within a year, and we developed the first service shop where people could come from the street, make an appointment to have therapy, and then they could go back into our huge counselling cafe, grab a coffee or a tea or a piece of cake, and sit down behind a screen and have counselling. And it was so brilliantly done that we even had kind of like music in the background, and it was a confidential space, but it just worked, and we were serving hundreds and hundreds of young people, middle-aged people, and I think the oldest client that we had was about 84 years of age. So everything was running really, really well. We had free floors. People could make an appointment to have therapy, Greg, in a confidential space, because remember, we had free floors as well. They didn't need to have therapy in the counselling cafe, but it all worked. It all worked really, really well. And then we started collaborating with at that point, about 12 to 14 universities, offering people that were learning how to do my job, which is a counsellor or psychotherapist, clinical placements. And so the business side of the charity grew and grew and grew and grew and grew until the crunch came. And the crunch was that the council wanted their building back. And they never put us in another place. So I had to think really, really quickly on my feet with my team, Greg. And what I had to do was decide to put these people somewhere else, because we lost the building basically. And so I took all of these hundreds and hundreds of people back to my building. And then we continued the business. We rebranded it. It was no longer a charity, but we continued the business in the name of Just Talk 2019, which is an affordable counselling service to help people in the community and further afield to get therapy within a week. So no waiting lists.
Yes, that's right.
Unlike
that's
the
right.
National Health or other charities that say, well, you know, we're going to give you a time of maybe 8 to 12 months, and if you're suicidal, that's not going to help you, is it?
Certainly not.
So we don't have waiting lists.
Amazing. I mean, Glenda, you've obviously done so much, from something of which affected you and your daughter directly to now having the unction to go out there and say, you know what, I'm going to address this issue. And then identifying that there are so many other people who are also being affected by it as well. You know, it's amazing to see what you was able to build during that period of time to save so many lives, because who else knows? I mean, the statistics that we're looking at with the increase, according to the Samaritans, having been like 6,859 people, taking their lives, as you said, to suicide, and an increase of 23.7% being under 25s. That could have been much higher.
Yeah, of course.
Had you not also played a part towards that.
Yeah, had we not, Greg, and we're continuing to do so. So, you know, we serve members of the public within the space of when they come for a clinical assessment, the following week they can have therapy. That's how good this service is. But it's not just about providing this service, it's about maintaining this incredible service. So there are experienced counsellors on board that support the cause as well. So we offer people in the community a clinical assessment before they go to see a trainee counsellor. So if they're not really suitable to see a trainee counsellor, then they'll see an experienced counsellor.
Yeah. And I mean, for those who maybe, because one of the things I want to also do is increase awareness. so that everyone else can also see some of the telltale signs or things that they need to pick up on for someone who's obviously feeling suicidal. I mean, what would you say are some of the things that someone like myself who's not a psychotherapist can also look out for in a friend or family or loved one or those going through these kind of challenges?
Well, this is it. And I think, Greg, that, we only know too well about some of the situations that people are going through, but the telltale signs are usually withdrawal. So people can become isolated. They can what else can they do? They can do things like let's just think from some of the things that I've worked with. People can self-harm, which is also something that's rising throughout the whole of the country. So, I think it's important to say that at any particular time in our lives, we are all going to experience mental health issues. So whether that be a separation, a grief, a loss, a change of circumstances, anything that, a trauma as well. These types of issues, they can put people in a very, very vulnerable place. And so what can happen is when people are almost catapulted and they're unaware of being in a vulnerable place, they can start to use social media as a tool. And in their minds, they're thinking to themselves, well, this is going to make me feel good about myself. I'm going to get lots and lots of likes. I'm going to, people don't know what I'm going through, so I don't have to disclose or share any of that stuff. But they post images of themselves smiling and looking good and all the rest of it. But really underneath it all, when they're very vulnerable, they're going through a heck of a lot of turmoil. And I think, social media helps people to feel, who are isolated, to feel that they belong or they feel part of the in crowd, and problems that can happen when posted comments are misread or misconceived or faultless, and in particularly written about them. It can be payback time, and especially when someone is feeling, like I've said, vulnerable and low. For me, it's not advisable to go on social media when you are vulnerable. That's one of the things that I feel that I need to say. I think that if you're going through something, get the help that you need. Speak to a therapist. Speak to somebody who's a professional that can help you. And then when you've resolved or when you've dealt with some of the stuff that you're facing or you're going through, then look to go on social media.
Very, very right. But and you're very right about that, because it gives me greater insight into the validation that someone is looking for by going on social media and having the likes and so forth. But what about some of the turmoil itself from the popularity contest of, being in social media itself? I mean, the high likes, the views and things like that. How does that also affect them? Because like you said, it's almost like they're waiting for it to assert their identity, but when it doesn't, it does also break them down. Yeah,
it does. And it's such a problem, Greg, these days, because a lot of people, not just the youngsters, but middle-aged and some elderly people, they rely on social media as their family. It's a fake world out there, and it's so terribly dangerous. And people really quite often don't admit that they are feeling negative on social media. It's such a force that almost catapults people into spiraling out of control, and they then themselves feel hurt, they feel pain, they feel used. They don't feel themselves. They're not actually themselves. They're another person.
Very true. And it brings also that competition as well, and that a distaste, towards others who may be going through a better side of life. But at the same time, like you said, a lot of people are only sharing their glories, and for others, they may even feel worse about themselves because they're seeing someone else's glories as well. But especially the fact that one of the aspects that we are talking about is due to, the connection with ex-Love Island. Obviously the sad loss of Carolyn Flack. How does reality TV all play a part to that? Because especially this generation at the moment is very celebrity driven towards you know, like you obviously put together in your film,
Yeah.
you know, dying to be famous.
Yeah.
Everyone wants to be that star.
Yeah.
Everyone wants to use reality TV
Yeah.
to be, you know, and this is not the first. We've seen so many people take away their lives,
Yeah.
you know, due to reality
Very sad.
TV. So give us some insights concerning
Right.
that.
Okay, so I think first and foremost, Greg, we have to understand that reality TV is fake or can be fake,
Wow.
can be misconstrued as something that it's not. And when people are pretending or acting out, they're not really truly themselves. So, you know,
They're acting out a perceived self of what they think that other people would like
want to
see.
connect with or want to see. You know, I'm one for. I mean, as you can see, I'm sitting here. Many years ago, I was almost caught up into that world of dyeing my hair, of wearing false nails and being something that I wasn't. So now I'm, you know, I've got grey hair now. You know, I've got my own nails on. You know, it's not fake. I'm not fake. But you know, a lot of the youngsters out there feel that they need to be something that they're not. And I'm saying, actually, look, stop, listen, try to be congruent, try to be real, try to be who you are, try to have a relationship with yourself. That's the best advice I can give, actually, Greg. Yeah.
Have a relationship with yourself. What do you like? What do you dislike? And just things about yourself that you can discover a lot more.
Yeah, and for people to become consciously aware at any given moment, you know, because these days people rush here, there and everywhere, and then, well, not always, but some people just take a little bit of time to reflect on what's happened in the day. Some people don't, and they miss their lives. So when we start having a relationships and we start having the time for us, starting to get to know our likes about ourselves and our dislikes, so important. It's not actually about pleasing people, Greg. It's about pleasing ourselves, and it's about living up to our own expectations of who we are and not expectations of what other people, you know, want us to be. Be ourselves. That's my truth.
Powerful.
Yeah.
Very easier said than done as well. I mean, so what are some of the practical ways that people can go about addressing this so that they don't fall victim to themselves when it comes to being so depressive and, you know, the stage of taking their own life? I mean, give us some practical tips of what we can all do.
I tell you what, Greg, you know, I always encourage talk. I always encourage people to find time to spend, to listen, to share with people. I can see that there's a lot more men doing this now, and that's really encouraging to see. But you know, some of the tips would be to not feel ashamed about whether you're mixed race, whether you're black, whether you're white, whether you're Asian, whether you're this, whether you're, you know, embrace your identity and celebrate actually who you are. It's taken a lot of years, Greg, for me to be able to do that for myself, but I'm there now.
Yeah,
you know,
amazing. I can see the powerful woman that sits before me as well. I'm like, whoa, Wonder Woman is just going away, you know, which is great. And it's very true, because when you don't come to embrace who you are, you'd always try and be like someone else because you don't really know who you are.
Yeah, you'll be lost. You'll become lost, and you'll be sucked in to that ever so dangerous world of fake social media. So when you can stand before yourself and say, actually, do you know what? I feel good about myself, or I actually like myself. Actually, today I might not like myself, but that's also okay. It's also okay to dislike and like yourself. It's really okay. And one of the things that people forget they have, Greg, is choices.
Wow.
People forget that they have a choice. It's kind of like almost lost in this world today. That actually, Glenda, I do have a choice.
Wow.
You know, and it's as simple as that. And when we can, you know, give people that empowerment back to really look at themselves, to really start to have a relationship with who they are, and then for them to say, actually, yeah, I do have a choice. Actually, today I'm going to make this choice. I'm not going to go with the flow of what other people are doing or what other people perceive me to be with. Actually, I'm going to stand here today and I'm going to say, I've decided to do this for myself, and I feel good about that.
That's it. Very powerful. Oh, she's warming up right now. If you can't feel it, I can. I have to dip my toes in water right now because I'm heated up. But thank you very much for sharing that, Glenda. We greatly do appreciate that. Hope you guys are enjoying it so far and taking on board a lot of information that Glenda is sharing. So what we're going to do is just go for a quick ad break. When we come back, she'll be talking to us about all things practical and how we can not just look out for the signs, but also how to help someone else in need and also support those who might be going through a difficult time as well. So don't touch that dial. Catch you on the other side of the break. See you soon.